Is the Pakistan Army officially running the country now? Has it taken over the country's governance in a silent coup?
Nawaz Sharif, who is eyeing an unprecedented fourth term as Pak Prime Minister, launched a scathing tirade against the Pak military. He blamed them for rigging the 2018 elections.
Hi, welcome to The Currently. In this episode, we shall have a look at the questions of why Pakistani military is so powerful in the internal affairs of that country. Is it because of its sheer size, or because of its incompetence of the other organs of the government, or is it because of the way partition of India took place? Let us explore all these questions in this video.
First, let us understand if the size of Pakistan army explains its disproportionate power in Pakistani politics. Let us talk about the sheer size of Pakistan's army immediately after the partition of India. According to Hussein Haqqani, a former Pakistani ambassador, Pakistan received 30% of British India's army, 40% of its navy, and 20% of its air force. To compare, Pakistan got only 20% of its population and 14% of the revenue of British India. 30% of army for the defense of a country that inherited only 21% of population. Doesn't it make the Pakistani army a disproportionately more powerful institution? Liaquat Ali Khan, Pakistan's first Prime Minister, had to use 75% of the initial budget to pay for the salaries and maintenance of the armed forces. Well, the army managed to get the lion's share of Pakistan's resources in Pakistan's first budget. Will the successive Pakistani governments be inclined to allocate such a huge sum of money for the armed forces? Moreover, for any army to sustain itself, it should have an ideology and funding. Ideologically, Pakistani army has portrayed India as an existential threat to Pakistan. This perception of an existential threat forces the government to allocate a substantial amount of resources to Pakistani army than what is actually required.
In an explosive interview, former President of Pakistan Pervez Musharraf has taken on India, calling it an existential threat. Musharraf has said that 90% orientation of Indian troops is against Pakistan, which poses an existential threat to Pakistan.
The Pakistani army, pointing to security threats from India and Afghanistan, plays a vital role in shaping Pakistan's foreign policy. Currently, the Pakistani army controls the government, making it very challenging for any administration to curtail funding for the army. There were also questions in Pakistan on the competence of the civilian government. Now, let us shift our focus to the complex relationship between the military and the civilian authorities in Pakistan. Many in Pakistan believe that politicians and civil bureaucrats are inefficient and corrupt, while the Pakistani military is seen as efficient and well organized. And this perception is true to an extent. During the initial days of Pakistan's formation, the civil authorities failed to deal with sectarian violence in Pakistan. The army successfully quelled this sectarian violence. Similarly, the army was called multiple times to deal with civilian law and order issues. This allowed the Pakistani army to gain control on the matters of internal security. So, due to limited resources and lack of trust in local authorities, the army often got involved in civilian issues. Now, Pakistan's space agency, weather agency, its water and power development authority, and its telecommunications watchdog are all headed by retired army officers. Also, the movement for the creation of separate Pakistan is very much peculiar. This has also contributed to the dominance of Pakistani army in Pakistani politics. During the movement for the creation of a separate Pakistan, the most ardent supporters for an independent Pakistan were from the British Indian states where Muslims were a minority. However, these places remained with India after the partition. Most Pakistani leaders came from such areas. Muslims from Muslim majority areas saw no need for a separate Muslim state as they already retained political control in these areas. After the formation of Pakistan, Jinnah from Bombay became the Governor General of Pakistan, and Liaquat Ali Khan, who spent most of his life in the present-day North India, has become the Prime Minister of Pakistan. These leaders who came from India were viewed as outsiders. This caused resentment as these outsiders imposed Urdu, an unfamiliar language, in a new state. The local populations in these areas also felt that these foreigners have monopolized power in Pakistan. Remember that the imposition of Urdu on East Pakistan was one of the major reasons behind the creation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. So the authority of the government was not firm in Pakistan. This gave Pakistan army a chance to fill in this political vacuum. Also, most Pakistani bureaucrats in those days were those who spent most of their lives in India before moving to Pakistan. These bureaucrats could not stand against army officers with superior discipline, education, and a record of personal sacrifice. The Pakistani army owns Fauji Foundations, whose net worth is estimated to be around $20 billion. It controls 10% of Pakistan's annual GDP. The Fauji Foundation has diversified into businesses ranging from banking to cement to farming. Like other companies, the Fauji Foundation's accounts are not scrutinized and it doesn't share its profits with the government. This gives the Pakistan Army a strong financial foundation apart from the budgetary grants it receives from the government. It is fascinating how the military's economic footprint has evolved over the years, impacting various sectors in Pakistan.
So, to conclude, Pak Army plays multiple roles, which makes it indispensable in the Pakistani society. Pak Army has become a very powerful player in the internal politics of Pakistan, controlling internal security, economy, governance of various civilian institutions. The strong Pakistani army has become a significant power center, making it challenging for India to handle its relations with Pakistan. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more insightful content. Until next time, stay curious.